Welcome back to Oversight with me, John Attenborough, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Carol Burt Wilson, who is the founder and manager of I Am Me Scotland. Carol, welcome to Oversight.
Thank you for having me, John. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I think I first became aware of your organisation. It was during COVID, because I've seen a lot of stuff online about the Keep Safe places that you were doing, and I think I had a Zoom call with some members of your team who were doing a lot around the pandemic time. But first of all, do you want to just maybe explain a bit about what I Am Me Scotland is and what you guys do?
Yeah, so I think we maybe first met on Twitter
I
many
think it was,
months ago.
yeah.
So I Am Me Scotland started off as a community project in 2012. So I actually started after watching a TV programme about a woman called Gemma Hayter who had a learning disability. The programme was called Don't Hate Us. And at the time I was working for housing in Renfrewshire Council, and I was delivering a quality input to housing staff around hate crime in partnership with Police Scotland. So this TV programme had come on about Gemma Hayter, and it was absolutely horrific. So Gemma had been targeted by young people in her community. She had just got her own property, was living her independent life, living her best life, and she was targeted by young people who used her flat, took her food, just
Really?
cocoon, and they were abusing her. And the programme highlighted this abuse, and one night they took Gemma up to a disused railway and battered her and left her to die. So,
Oh my goodness.
absolutely horrific. I had never heard of disability hate crime. It wasn't in the hate crime education resources that we were delivering in partnership with the police. So I'd went back to Police Scotland and said, what is disability hate crime? Why have I never heard about it? And what are we doing about it? So at the time it was Superintendent Mark Shepherd. He was absolutely brilliant, and he said, look, why don't we do a bit of research in Renfrewshire and we'll find out what's happening, if this is happening, and if people heard of it. So we started off with linking in with the disability groups. We did surveys and questionnaires to find out if people had either witnessed or had experienced disability hate crime, and some of the stories that we got told were absolutely horrific. So we got told about a lady who was deaf having paint poured on her car for parking in a disabled bay because she didn't look disabled.
Oh my God.
We got told from carers at a group that we'd visited about people being targeted on the bus, so they now weren't travelling in the morning to their group. We got told about somebody that had been sold a Metro newspaper. So again, just absolute financial exploitation. And a gentleman in Paisley who had his cane taken off him and got it sold back to him for a fiver by young people. So none of these incidents had been reported as hate crime because people didn't know what disability hate crime was. They didn't know that it could be reported. So after we did the research, we realised there was lots of different areas that needed targeted. So we needed to raise awareness of what disability hate crime was.
Yeah.
We needed to work with young people to let them know that the use of language, the behaviours were totally unacceptable and the impact that they were having on the community. But we also had to work with the police to let them know that when people were reporting these incidents that they were to be classed as hate crimes, because that means that they would absolutely be investigated properly. So we branched off into two areas. I focused on education, working with young people, and PCU and Smith at the time focused on Keep Safe. So Keep Safe was creating a network of places across the community where people could feel safe if they were out and about. So if something happened, they could go into one of these places and either a family member could be contacted or the police, depending on the severity of the incident. We worked with young people and we worked with Pace Theatre Company and the disability groups to create I Am Me, which was a film based on Charlie. But Charlie's story was based on all of those real life stories. So if you watch Charlie's film, you'll see the Metro newspaper, you'll see the targeting on the bus. So we took all of that and created the I Am Me film, and we got charity status in 2015. And that's how we started.
Wow. So before you contacted Police Scotland after you saw that film in 2012, were they unaware of the scope of this because things weren't being reported as hate crimes per se, just as sort of general crimes?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely. So it all kind of fell into place all at the right time, John. So Police Scotland just had formed as a national police force.
Right,
The Equality Act and the hate crime legislation had just all been transformed. So the hate crime legislation had just changed, I think it was in 2012 also, to bring in disability and to align all of the strands of hate crime. So there was at that time there was 5 strands of hate crime. So I don't think anybody was really aware. And when we first started doing the awareness raising, the press were reporting on the increase in hate crimes, but actually it was quite likely the increase in reporting of hate crimes rather than the increase of incidents.
Yeah.
It's massively underreported. MainCap indicate about 97% of disability hate crimes are not reported.
Wow. And is that still the case today, or has that kind of, because of like the awareness that your organisation brings, is that kind of increased? Or
Yeah, so I think the awareness has increased. It would be good if MainCap could rerun their survey just so that we could actually measure that on a like-for-like comparison. But if you look at the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal statistics, the number of hate crimes that have been reported year on year out have increased. So we're hoping that's due to increased awareness, but also due to increased access to reporting. So you can report through third-party reporting centres, or you can report online anonymously. So there's lots of different ways that you can report now. So there's still an awful lot of work still to be done to make sure that people know that they can report it and for the police to take it seriously.
And do people, like, if somebody, say somebody experiences a hate crime, does I Am Me Scotland sort of support them to report it, or are you kind of like, do you kind of help as a mediator in between, like, say, the Police Scotland and the person who's, you know, had a hate crime, who's experienced a hate crime?
So we can do. So we are registered third-party reporters. So we have previously taken reports and supported people to put those reports through to Police Scotland. Once the report's through to Police Scotland, we would recommend, if it's non-urgent, obviously if it's urgent then phone 999 if you need assistance. If it's non-urgent, then we would always recommend to do it through the online form, because that means you've got a record of it and it will go to the national team. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you've got the sort of is it Keep Safe, you call them, the venues around Scotland? So
we had run Keep Safe in partnership with Police Scotland for 10 years. Police Scotland ended Keep Safe in 2025 because they changed their structure of policing, and they weren't able to support it anymore. So it's a real shame, because we could see how people were using it, not necessarily to go in and report crimes, but as a safety network. So a lot of people had integrated it into independent daily living plans. If you were travelling from Perth down to Glasgow, for example, you would be able to look ahead and see what keep safe places there were. So it was good for encouraging people to travel independently. It was great for awareness raising. So all of the organisations that signed up received disability and hate crime training. So there were over 1,000 keep safe places across the whole of Scotland, and I think when we did the final evaluation, there was around 5,000 people who'd been trained on hate crime.
Wow.
When Keep Safe ended, we were then contacted by a lot of individuals and organisations to say, you know, there's now a real gap with how we can promote independent living, how we can encourage people to stay socially active. So what we did is we worked with disabled people, and we took what was working really well from Keep Safe and we developed Disability Friendly. So Disability Friendly is much the same. It's a network of places across Scotland. Organisations can register for free. We'll provide all of the training and resources free, and we train staff on the range of disabilities. So we've worked with around, I think it's 19 organisations to bring a whole bank of disabilities together. So organisations can go and their staff can get trained on what disability is, what barriers people might face in the community, how you can help to overcome those barriers, what hate crime is, and how you can report that. So it does everything And a wee bit more from what Keep Safe did. The only thing we can't do is say it's a Keep Safe place because we don't have Police Scotland doing those checks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because I think that's how I first became aware of your organisation, was through the Keep Safe. And I think I joined, I'm sure it was like a webinar or something you were running through the pandemic or something like that. I remember joining a Zoom call and hearing about it. And then actually, because I was made aware of it, I then started seeing like the stickers in the window and seeing, oh, that's a Keep Safe place, and that, which I thought was a brilliant idea, because it could just be, you know, like your local cafe or a corner shop or football clubs or anything. And I thought, what a great idea, because then it's kind of like almost like training the community to kind of look out for disabled people. And it's that, like you said, it's like kind of that sort of safe space that disabled people can recognise and then go into. So it's great to hear that the disability friendly scheme is almost like a continuation of that.
Yeah, it was too good to lose, John.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, these are community organisations, businesses that are wanting to come forward, that are wanting to help support people. So, you know, to just lose the network completely, what we had to do was restart, because we didn't want to say they were safe places. So just now we're sitting around 130 disability friendly places. So
amazing.
That's not bad.
Considering that the Keep Safe only ended a year ago, that's quite incredible.
Yeah.
You've got so many signed up so far. Actually reminds me, I don't know if you know Gavin Neat at all. He runs an app called Welcome.
No, his name rings a bell. So
yeah, so he's got an app that basically it's almost like digital platform training for disability awareness training for a wide range of disabilities. So there's a certain amount of venues that have signed up for that, and what they can do is, like, you create a profile on the platform and you can say that you're going to visit them. So say, like, I was going to visit a local cafe or something, I could say I'm coming along at 1 o'clock, and immediately me booking a visit triggers their training, so that when I arrive, they know, you know, not to distract the dog, that I might need a bit of sighted guide, and you can kind of specify what assistance you need. I'll need to link you in with Gavin, because I think there would be a really good crossover between what you're doing and what he's doing as well.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and I just think there's so many disabled people. There's so many people I've spoke to, even within the visual impairment community, that they stick to the same places. They stick to the places they know, and very sort of rarely branch out to travel to new places. So I think things like what you're doing almost encourages people to say, like, look, there are, you know, other places that can offer you support when you go to
and
places.
I think that would tie in really well with that, because obviously when we put the training available free, so people can do it online by themselves, or we can deliver it via Teams. If we go out and deliver it in person, we obviously have to charge for the travel costs and staff costs. But all of the resources are there to access free, so we remove all the barriers. But if we tied it in with the app, again, that reinforces that training. So if you know that somebody's coming, they can go back in and do that wee bit of refresher training.
Yeah, it's almost like real time training, you know, when it's required, rather than, you know, a few days before or weeks before sometimes.
Or sometimes it might just come out your mind because you've not used it.
Because it's been so long since you've had the training or whatever. And it's a really, really good idea. And I suppose the organisation has been around for kind of like 10 years now, is that right, since a registered charity? So what kind of main projects is it that you've got running at the moment?
So we have two still. So we have the education side, which my colleague Vary does the majority of work on. So we have a full education platform. So we had a bus. We got a bus from Stagecoach right at the very start of the charity. So we were going out and delivering inputs in schools, and sometimes some schools are kind of shared learning places, and it was really difficult to deliver the inputs. So we'd said, you know, it'd be really good to get our own space. So we'd emailed Stagecoach and said, any chance of a bus? Not for a minute thinking. So of course they phoned and says, what would you like, a single decker or a double decker?
Oh wow.
I nearly died because I can't drive a bus. So I'm like, Jesus, I don't know where to put this thing. So of course I was like, oh, have a single decker please. So Renfrewshire Council have been incredibly supportive of the charity from the very start. So they had let us put the bus down at Underwood Road, and we managed to get some grant funding to convert it into a mobile cinema and education unit. We toured the schools with the education programme, so it was disability awareness from nursery all the way through to primary 7. So it was progressive each year. They would learn more about inclusion, bullying, hate crime. And then during COVID, we couldn't take the bus out. So we had to move everything online. And I still miss the bus, but actually what it's done is it's enabled us to reach the whole of Scotland with our education resources rather than just local. So we have a full platform. We have all of our disability awareness. We have specific disability awareness for things like Down syndrome, ADHD. We have a new deaf awareness resource, which Vary's just worked on with St Roch's School in Glasgow. So the children who go to the school, or the young people who are deaf, have developed the animation and of BSL interpreted that. We've just worked on a bullying resource in partnership with Respect Me. So everything we do is all about inclusion and supporting people within the community. All of those education resources are free, so we secure little bits of funding. We develop the resource, then we put it on the platform so everybody can use it for free. And the other initiative we have is disability friendly. So we just launched that in June last year. We have developed a training. The training's an ongoing development. So every time somebody does the training and gives us feedback to say, for example, I would like information about fibromyalgia, we'll contact the fibromyalgia organisation. We'll work with them to develop a part of the training that's around that. So it's continually grown. And we're going to be working with young people on an ambassador programme as well. So again, that'll be about creating groups of young people who can become advocates for disabled people, for disability, just better understanding not all disabilities are visible, and what to do if somebody needs support, how to remove the barriers, and how to report incidents. So we'll just keep going.
No, it sounds amazing. It sounds like you've got a lot going on at the moment. Anyways, it's probably never ending. Just when you were saying about the sort of support that you can offer there, and it just got me thinking, kind of off the top of my head, do you do any work at all with like schools and like training, like, or even just speaking to young people in schools about this sort of thing? And because there'll be probably I imagine there'll be lots of people in schools that probably maybe have sort of classmates with disability, and that would, I always think, like, kids are they just absorb information as well, don't they? And something like that would be really good. I think going around schools and doing stuff as well.
So we don't do as much as we used to when we had the bus. It was great. And we had children talking about disabilities that they had or somebody in their family had. So there's a couple of stories that really stand out. We'd went out. So there's 4 of us in our team. We all have disabilities or are neurodivergent. Kieran, who is in our team, has autism. And when we were out speaking to a group of primary 3s, Kieran was talking about his experience of autism, and one of the wee boys had come up to us afterwards and said, it's good to meet somebody just like me.
Oh, wow.
But we also get messages from parents to say that their children had come home from school. So we got a message from a wee boy, his family from Paisley, who had just been diagnosed with autism, and they didn't know how they were going to explain it to him. And he come running home from school to say, Mummy, I met somebody just like me today.
Oh, wow.
So she was like, it was incredible for him to be so positive about something we were worried about talking about. So it was great. Some of the teachers had come up to us afterwards and said, I didn't realise that they had somebody in their family who had a disability. So it really generated conversation. Now we tend to go out to schools if we're asked to do it. It's normally around an awareness week or bullying week. Or we've been asked to do hate crime inputs in schools. So it's maybe where somebody's been targeted, or there's been a couple of incidents, and we'll go out and we'll speak to the children and we'll do inputs. They're always really well received, and it would be good just to
continue that. No, I certainly felt, because I went through mainstream school myself, and we never really, I never really remember anybody sort of coming into the school. So I always kind of felt a little bit isolated, because I was kind of like the only one in my class with a visual impairment and doing things slightly different to the other children. So I think certainly, having these talks at schools, I think would be I certainly would have found that very valuable, I think. And I mean, I do some stuff with schools. I not as much as I used to, but I would sort of volunteer for guide dogs and go out as a speaker to school to sort of educate children and young people around visual impairment and people with guide dogs. And even now, I would be sitting on a bus, and it's usually the kids that then educate the adults.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be sitting on a bus, the amount of times I've been sitting on a bus or a train, and say a parents and their children have got on at another stop, and the parents usually go put their hand down on the dog, and the children goes, no, you can't touch that dog, it's a guide dog. We had somebody come into the school and spoke about it. And I think you know, they just absorb all that information. I think it's really nice to see like kids educating their parents as well on things like that.
We had a group of teddies which we still have, who were part of the team, and each of the teddies had a disability. So
oh wow,
we had PC Rose, who was blind, and she had her guide dog. So we had a little guide dog as well. So we were able to explain the harness and when or how you would approach somebody who was blind or who had a guide dog. So it was great, and the kids are great, and they're good at then taking that learning home to the family. And you're right, I'm terrible when there's a dog around for touch the dog.
No, it's so hard to resist. It really is. No, you know, it reminded me, there was this, I need to try and find the video link for it because it was absolutely brilliant. And it's probably one of the best educational pieces I've seen around sort of with children and young people as well. As there was a teacher, and she was sort of like giving a talk to her class. And she said, like, she would say to the class, okay, we're going to do a drawing exercise today. She's like, could you draw me a firefighter or a police officer? And they would all like draw like a man with or whatever, and then say, oh, could you draw me like a doctor or something? And they would all draw a doctor. And then she says, could you draw me like a fighter jet pilot? And they would all draw a fighter jet pilot. And then she says, would you like to meet these people now? And then they brought in, say, like a woman who was a fighter jet pilot, and they all went, oh wow. And then like, you know, like a disabled person would come in who was maybe a doctor or a lawyer or something, and she was just doing that sort of educate that, like, you know, everybody can have these jobs rather than the sort of stereotypes that are initially thinking. And it was just amazing seeing the children's faces that just change when these people walked into the room. And it was, I always think, oh, these sort of educational things are really good. And education can be fun as well. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be like formal classroom sort of, this is like slideshow sort of thing.
It's challenging that unconscious bias as well.
100%,
so it's great. We have sim glasses, so they actually used them in the sensory unit while I was working there, and I thought these would be great to take out to our training. So with the kids, we had like the tunnel vision glasses, and we were saying, so you put these on, and we were getting them to walk up and down the bus. So saying things like, you know, if you leave your scooter on the pavement, or, you know, you just drop your bike, you know, this is what you see. So just things like wheelie bins, cars parked, and educating children about those barriers can then make them challenge their parents, and it's that reverse learning. It's really, really powerful.
100%. And I see that in 2019 you were recognised for your work with IAME Scotland. You were awarded a MBE by the Queen. Is that right? Yeah,
that was me just taking the credit for everybody else's work. So the team did all the work, and I'm like, yeah.
That must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was. I actually remember getting the letter through the door, and so we just got the Queen's Award for voluntary service for the charity. And that's quite difficult to get. So we had all these keep safe places, and they all volunteer, and we had all our volunteers are young people. So we just got that in 2018, and I was actually off on maternity leave, and this letter had come through the door. And do you know that way you always think you've done something wrong?
Yeah, you think, oh no.
Oh God. they're taking it off us. What's happened? Done something. And I opened it up and it says, you've basically been awarded, but you're not allowed to say anything to MD. You're not to do.
I've heard that from people. It must be so difficult to not be like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like years ago, that was at the cartoon, was it Danger Mouse and Penfold, and you've got to eat the letter afterwards. It's like, I don't know what to do with this letter. So yeah, it was that come through, I think, in October, and then it didn't get released until December on the New Year's Awards. So yeah, it was great. It was really nice, but I still maintain it's the full charity. So you can't do these things by yourself. You need support.
It shows. I mean, you had the recognition to go to Police Scotland in the first place after seeing that film. So I mean, to give yourself I think you do deserve the credit for.
I'm just the bossy one, John. I'm like, let's get on here.
But it must have been an amazing experience. I mean, was it at Holyrood House?
It was. So it was great. It was a wee bit overwhelming, to be honest. I don't remember a lot of the day. I was lucky to be there with the same time as Dodie Weir and John Davidson.
Oh wow!
As well. So John from the Tourette's film. So yeah, that was all true.
Wow.
So John was just a couple behind me after seeing the Queen. So
that must have been quite nerve-wracking as well. I would imagine meeting the Queen as well.
So we all got taken into a room beforehand, so it wasn't quite the way it was portrayed in the film. And you get given your instructions of how you have to go through and what you have to do. So that was obviously really stressful for everybody.
You'd be like, oh, I don't want to get this wrong, so I've only got one chance at it. So,
and I think obviously John had found it extremely stressful. So I remember Dodie being really good, Dodie Weir, and going over and chatting to him by the window and being really nice. So yeah, the whole experience was just so surreal. But she was amazing. She when I met her, she asked all about the children we work with and the charity.
Really?
And I don't know how she remembers it all. I think she must have an earpiece in. And
somebody feeding her the information.
I'm like, I don't know how she does it. Incredible lady. So yeah, it was a really incredible day. But I remember the whole day was just a bit of a blur.
And is it quite a long day, or is it over like really quickly?
No, it's quite a long day. So you go into the palace. From what I can remember, it's all kind of a bit blurry, and then you get separated from your family right away. So you don't see them until afterwards. So you go into this kind of holding room, and you're given water or fresh orange to drink.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You're in there for quite a wee while, and then somebody comes in. It's one of the Queen's men. Comes in and gives you the instructions, so it's all really quite formal.
Yeah.
They tell you what's going to happen, they tell you what you have to do, you have to curtsy, etc. And then you go in a line and there's spaces between, and then you go through one by one. You get given your award and she has a chat with you, and then you move on down the line and they take your award off you again and put it in a wee box.
Wow,
and
cool.
then you move down and you have to wait till everybody's all passed, and then the family will come out at the end and you can get pictures.
Brilliant. So I imagine there's like a lot of sort of formal pictures that you have to sort of
I think
for at the end.
Yeah, there was a couple. I think by that point I was like, oh, I need a drink. It's very stressful. But it's just you don't know what to expect, so you're just like, oh, it's all over, thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it must have felt like sort of recognition for yourself and the team's hard work up until that point as well.
Yeah, I think I don't know, maybe just the whole West of Scotland working class. You never think that you deserve it, and you think they're going to come and take it away. So you don't brag about it in case somebody's like, well, actually, that was a mistake. Yeah. So yeah, I just put it away and think that was really nice, and it was really nice. You never ever find out who nominated you either.
Oh really?
So I don't know who nominated me.
Wow.
So
you'd be going around asking everyone, was it you?
I was at the start. I was like, oh, who's done this? But I never found out who it was. So I'm incredibly grateful that somebody thought, that I earned it. You always think, oh gosh, there's so many other people that have been involved. But yeah, it was nice.
Wow. No, it's a definitely well-deserved recognition for the work that you've been doing. And I noticed just by seeing your posts on LinkedIn that you've been studying AI as well.
I have.
And do you see AI as being a sort of link in between the work that you're doing at the moment as well?
I'm still not sure.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's great, and other times I think not so great.
I've had the same kind of relationship with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, wow, and then other times you're like, the intelligence part is maybe a bit wrong.
I mean, I think it can be great. I think it can be great for bridging the gap around inclusion with lots of things. So if you think about Alexa, for example, and how the automated systems just make things much more accessible, I have lots of reservations. So I have a fight with it every time I use it, because I'm like, one of us is missing something, probably me. But I also think about the ethical use of it. So not just around pictures or cultural or organisational sort of cultures, but also, things like the data centres, the impact on the environment, data slavery or digital slavery. There's people that have to sit and label all of that data to make it accessible and to make the AI work. People that are underpaid. So I'm still out with it. I think it can be a great thing, but it would be good for it not to be owned by very few people who make lots of money. It would be good for 100%. It to be more publicly owned and a public benefit. Yeah,
because that, like you said, that's one of the things I struggle with. I think it's a great tool, but I think sometimes people overuse it a wee bit.
Yeah.
And like you said, with the amount of power it's absorbing and the amount of data centers that is needed, and basically like just to put computer servers in, which is crazy, and the amount of, I was reading about the amount of water that needs to cool them, and you're just like, this is insane. And I think I just read an article earlier this week where it was like all these sort of the sort of main big AI companies are actually wanting to put loads of data centers in Scotland because of the natural water resources that we've got from the Highlands and things. And I'm like, wow, there's something like 200 data centers they wanted to put in Scotland. I was like, 200. Wow.
And that's because the demand keeps on increasing. But I don't think that people are aware of the environmental harm. So LinkedIn is a prime example, because half the content on there is AI generated, because it makes you feel daft.
It does. I know.
Don't know what you're trying to say. But also all these images that people are generating on AI that are just...
And you can spot them straight away now as well.
I don't think they realise how much data that's using to generate that, to post on for what, a few likes or... So I think there definitely needs to be more increased knowledge of, responsible use of AI, maybe more corporate policies about how it's used. So, the content on LinkedIn, for example, people are posting on big blurbs that are just AI. What we're learning about it is that it's about recognising patterns. So you'll start to see the same content reappearing because it connects the words.
And then once you see it, you can't kind of unsee it, sort of thing. And
I keep seeing all the pictures now, and I'm like, this is ChatGPT. But they all look the same. I'm like, it's just,
they do. I open LinkedIn, and even on like sort of Twitter and Instagram as well. Like, it's almost like we're almost like losing the human element of social media. You can see you can spot the posts that have been written by AI a mile away now, and it's like it almost makes social media a bit boring now, because you're like, am I talking to a person or am I reading just what ChatGPT's gurgitated out?
Absolutely, and it's just gurgitated it out because it's recognised words and it's brought patterns together.
It doesn't actually know what it's saying. It's just pattern recognition, isn't it?
So I used it to do a blog, only because I never feel confident writing on LinkedIn, because everybody always seems so smart, and they're probably not. But again, I've put it on and I'm like, it doesn't sound like us. So when I was coming back with the information from the course to the team, so I've still got a couple of weeks to go. So initially we were told not to say things like please and thank you, because AI isn't human.
I heard about that.
And it uses data tokens, which is more energy. But then I actually don't agree with not saying please and thank you, because I think if we're going to increase our use of AI and we're not saying please and thank you, we'll start not to see it in real life, because that'll become the way that we speak,
Yeah.
and I actually don't want to lose
That's a good point,
that human
actually.
element.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So I was saying to the team, be careful what you put out, because we don't want to lose our personality. We don't want to sound like a corporate machine. We want to sound like an organisation that cares about people in our community.
Yeah.
And the thing about AI is it doesn't care.
No,
So,
it doesn't.
it just brings words together. It doesn't have empathy and feelings. And I think when you lose that human element, it's not so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing it definitely can't replicate, is the sort of human emotion side of it. As much as it tries, it's never experienced that, so it can't sort of replicate it.
Or picking up on those emotions or responses as well, and you're thinking, oh, I've not quite got this right, I'll need to adapt the way that I'm speaking. So it doesn't differentiate between the audiences unless you specifically tell it to. I think it has its place, but I think we should not be losing the human element in how we converse and how we share our information from our organisations.
I totally agree. I think it's a great tool to have, but I'm not overly convinced by the things like sort of Chat GPT or Claude or Grok or whatever. I think the sort of real use, the sort of real world use of it is brilliant. So I use the Meta glasses, and I can look at a menu in a restaurant or something and press a button and it reads it out to me through the sort of bone conducting headphones, or if somebody's speaking to you in a foreign language, it can translate it into your ear and things like that. Or if I'm standing in an unfamiliar street, I can just say things like, hey Meta, what am I looking at? And it'll describe the scene. I think things like that, the real world use of AI I think that sort of side is amazing, but less so the sort of chatbot side of it.
Absolutely, and I think that accessibility side is huge. Even things like Alexa and being able to get the weather, the time, the music. But I would like for it not to be owned just by such a small number of people who
it's like 3 or 4 people that
earn
own
lots,
all the companies,
and they're getting richer and richer and richer. And I mean, that was Elon Musk just come out as a trillionaire, really?
Which is
there's no
crazy,
there's
isn't
no
it?
need. And there's people starving. So I think it's morally disgusting.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think there's a lot of sort of moral issues around it, and I even see people who are heavy users of AI, but also agree that it's a moral outrage. You're like, oh my, like how do you reconcile that?
And I think that's where I found the course really interesting, because initially I was interested in the ethics of AI, but also how can we use it without losing our human element. So the bit we learned last week was about automating. The laptop was nearly out the window on Friday, because I was trying to think, when people register to become disability friendly, it comes through to our forms. We then go in, we take all of that information, we send them an email with all the training links, they do the training, and then it comes back to let us know they've done the training. So I was thinking I could probably get it to connect the forms to the email so that when they register, they get the email automatically. Yeah. But I've been a day and a half fighting with it, and I think I just did it this morning before.
Oh wow, really?
But I was saying to the team, I was saying to Amy and Barry, I don't trust it yet, so don't do anything.
Yeah, don't send it until I check
it. We test it lots. But that would help free up Amy's time to spend more time developing the training, rather than doing that. So I think it can be useful as long as it's not removing jobs. And that's another concern when it's used to remove jobs. Yeah. And then we're again replacing humans.
I know. I mean, I think I saw a clip. I think it was on Instagram. It was something like, I think it was Elon Musk. He was saying something like, even just a few years from now, there'll be entire companies that are run solely on AI with no human input, and they'll be more valuable than companies run by humans. I'm like, that shouldn't be allowed,
Also, have you seen his robots? They go out kicking people in the audience, and
I know.
You can't even let go yet, dude.
I know. I think it's going to be. I think we'll probably eventually get to a good place, but I think it's going to be a bumpy ride to get there. Yeah. Same with any new technology.
I think it would be good for the sort of government not to be so far behind, and for things to be a wee bit more sort of public led and public owned and public profited. Would be good. But I think we're
well,
way,
I mean,
way behind.
the public take things like, like the water supply and general, and and even public transport and things into public ownership. So I do think this is going to be a technology that probably will get taken into public ownership, but probably too late.
Yeah. It would be good to see what else is there just to improve accessibility. That's certainly the side that I think is worth it. What else can we do to make sure people aren't isolated, lonely? Can we promote inclusion? We can get more people involved. How can AI better support that? So we've got a long way to go. I'm still at the very start of learning about it, and love-hate relationship right now.
Yeah,
so
no, I think I'm at the same place with it at the moment. I think it's a sort of love-hate relationship with it.
It's more hate than
exactly. Yeah,
We'll
100%. So, what's the future plans for IME Scotland? Have you got anything in the pipeline coming up, or any sort of future growth plans?
So we are going to be focusing on trying to include BSL in all of our upcoming resources. So one of our team members, Vary, has hearing loss, and she's learning BSL. So she's level 2. She's doing great. But it's really highlighted that there are a whole deaf community out there who don't have access to our resources, particularly around hate crime, bullying, even the exploitation resources. So how can we make them more accessible? We're also going to be working on, which is really interesting and quite exciting, a mock trial, probably scheduled around November. So we're going to be working with the High Court in Glasgow and Lord Mulholland, and we're looking at a trial probably of somebody with a disability who's a bit like Gemma, whose flat's been used, who's been cuckooed, but is deemed to have capacity in terms of the law. So it's looking likely to be around county lines, drug trafficking in this flat being used. So how does the criminal justice system look at that? How do they identify the capacity of the individual? And where are the gaps in the legislation around the protection of vulnerable adults? So I'm quite excited about that.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. And if anybody wanted to get in touch with yourself or follow the organisation, how can they do that?
So our website's imescotland.co.uk. On there you can find everything out about Disability Friendly, all of our resources, or you can email the team at imescotland@outlook.co.uk.
Perfect. And I'll make sure that all the links and stuff are in the description so people can find it quite easily. I just want to say thank you for coming in today. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you.